You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, let's get after it. It's time for the Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Business picking up across the NHL as we get closer and closer to round one of the NHL draft. It is Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, presented by Bet365. How are we feeling, Rosie?
Honestly, I am in the thick of a 48-hour fast right now, and I feel a little wonky. I'm a big hippie, apparently. Yeah, I'm giving it a go, but feeling all right, I guess. I tried it once, couldn't quite get there, but feeling choice. Last night at like 4 o'clock p.m., I hit this euphoric thing, and I was just felt like half stoned. It was kind of wild, but supposed to be good for you. I'm giving it a whirl. Feeling a little new age hippie stuff going on today, but why not?
How many hours into this thing are you?
38.
Oh my!
I haven't ate since supper on Tuesday. You got to
be
shed
honest.
those dead
I felt the
cells
same
away.
way. Yeah, I felt the same way. I told you, I'm down here in Encino, California. Shout out to my main man Dennis Bernstein for hosting me this weekend. I wake up, and what do I see? I see blue, and I'm like, am I in Toronto? I see a Mitch Marner signed Maple Leafs jersey Dennis Bernstein's wearing. And I'm like, you're kidding me. But Dennis knows me too well. He knows I want Marner back in Toronto, right?
A relic. He pulled a relic off the shelves. Oh, that's nice. Good for him. Yeah, hopefully. Is he a LA fan or what's his deal?
No, he's just trolling me. He covers the LA Kings and the entire NHL. It's a complete troll job. You're staying with me, I'm going to troll you. But Mitch Marner is a name we're following. It was funny as well. I was at the availability yesterday at the Toyota Center here in LA, close to LA, for Ken Holland. And it's intriguing because I've obviously had the perspective of covering the Toronto Maple Leafs and then covering the LA Kings. I thought was unique. And in the way the media handled things, the way they approached that press conference, indirectly asking about the cap space, I thought it was a lot of fun because we think LA is going to be involved in some capacity on Mitch Marner come July 1.
Yeah, possibly. And lots of chatter in the offseason here about the media in Toronto. What were some of the differences you saw?
Well, just smaller, chiller. Kenny Holland spent about 35 minutes talking to the media. I learned quite a bit about Vladislav Gavrikov and Jordan Spence yesterday. A lot of conversation about those guys. And a couple questions were asked indirectly about using a big brunt of his cap space on one player. And he said he's open to everything. So I think we expect the LA Kings to be involved in that conversation. I think it's intriguing too because Anaheim is another team that's been linked to Mitch Marner and of course, Vegas. So we'll see what unfolds over the next couple of days leading up to July 1, of course, Rosie. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. So you're okay? You're not going to pass out in today's show?
No, I'm got my lemon water with some salt. I'm going, buddy. I got lots of reserves.
Love to hear that. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to LeafsNation.com and visit the LeafsNation.com, I should mention. Also looking forward to our draft special, part of Daily Faceoff, coming up tomorrow. Today's guest about to join us, but hosting those festivities. 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Jeff Marek and special guest Pierre Maguire, pick by pick. They'll cover every second of the 2025 NHL draft with sharp analysis and real-time reaction. Don't miss the Sheet Draft Special, live June 27th, which is tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece Program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian-owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. As you bring in today's guest from the Sheet, it is the one and only Jeff Marek. How are you, bud?
I am well. Can I offer some advice to Rosie?
Hit me, Jeffrey.
As someone who's done this multiple times, when you come off, don't shock you. First of all, what you're doing to your body is excellent. You're actually allowing your body to heal and not process. I'm very proud of you. Your mother and I are very proud of you, Jay. Your mother and I.
I thought I was going to get made fun of. I like this.
No, man. I applaud you. No way, man. You're doing your dude. You know what this is? This is like the best form of self-care. because you're doing something for future you. Like that kind of responsibility, you're doing, like, that is the best kind of self-care. You're doing something for future Jay. Now, when you do come off, though, don't shock your system. Do have and I always use miso soup. I'll have like a bowl of miso soup, just sort of, you don't just go off like the 3-meter diving board or the 15-meter diving tower to get back into the buffet. Just do it slowly. Wade in. Do not shock your system with a ton of food
don't
right
dummy
away,
a Chicago-style
pizza
with a Big Mac meal. Eh?
Don't have one of those meals, Jay, where you have to count your fingers afterwards just to make sure you didn't chow one off along the way. Don't do that.
I'll take that in mind. I'll go easy on the system here tonight.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Thanks for the advice.
It's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Congratulations.
Love it. Appreciate
Well,
it.
luckily, Rosie doesn't miss the draft tomorrow. If he does, the Leafs are not selecting. But is this your Christmas, Marek? I think when you look at
yeah, I really love it. It's a lot of fun. First of all, I thankfully it sounds like this decentralized idea is going to be a one and done. And right now, the NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman is doing a sort of victory lap here, kind of wagging his finger and saying, "I told you so," and reminding people that this was not his idea. This was the idea of the general managers. This is how they wanted it to happen, but we can always change it back, and I think they will going to next season. I love it. It's fun. Junior hockey is my first love, and just watching the parents and the kids and all of it. It's you know why I like it, Nick? I figured this out years ago. I like it because it's the one day where every story is a positive story, right? Everything's all about, hope and positivity and welcoming in and joining the NHL and dreams realized and all these types of things. It's the one thing where everybody's happy. Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, 90% or 99% of people are happy walking away from the draft. It's a good news day in the NHL. That's why I like it.
Yeah, it is. It's fun seeing those kids kind of step into an organization, and there's all kinds of steps along the way as your journey towards hopefully playing in the NHL. This is obviously a big one. With the Maple Leafs, I feel like people, I kind of talked about it yesterday, maybe prepare for a underwhelming summer potentially, but do you see Treliving maybe having something up his sleeve and breaking out some news or making a move that really shocks people? Or you think it's going to kind of be as underwhelming as maybe I'm preparing myself for?
I don't see it right now. All eyes on the John Tavares negotiations. But I'll tell you what, last year, it was a great moment. The Toronto Maple Leafs selecting Ben Danford. Okay, Ben Danford of the Oshawa Generals. Great pick. I think a lot of people thought, this guy's probably going to go somewhere in the second round. The Leafs grab him late in the first. Really solid pick. Had a great season. Hard-hitting defenseman. Maple Leafs are going to really like this guy when they get him / if they get him. And here's why I say that. You're the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. You're probably looking to make moves by way of trade. I know everyone's all excited about Easton Cowan, and rightfully so. They should be. And if I were him, I'd be nervous too. Just like if I'm Ben Danford. Last year was all smiles and put on the jersey and favorite team growing up and all those types of things. But until you make it in the NHL, I was having a conversation with someone about this morning right before I came on with you guys. If you're if you're a prospect in the Maple Leafs organization, it's a lot of sleepless nights until you get there, because this is a team that is win now mode, and it's not as if they have a lot to dangle outside of Easton Cowan, Ben Danford, etc. That's why it can quickly turn into wow, I was drafted by the team I grew up watching and idolizing, and now I just got moved to make room for so-and-so. Because they don't have, the draft capital to play with, and they don't have a very deep prospect pool to play with. So if I'm a Maple Leafs prospect, I'm probably a little bit nervous here as we head into the summer.
It really feels like the calm before the storm. I think a lot of people in Leafs Nation, not so much looking at the draft, but looking at free agency. What are you hearing? You hearing anything attached to the Maple Leafs? We know nobody talks until July 1, of course, but... What?
Nope. None of these things goes. Nope. No one talks. No one chats. It's all on the up and up. Don't know what tampering is. What's a truck? I have no idea. You know, it's funny. One manager I spoke to, just as a side story, you guys will like this. We're having a conversation about tampering, and this manager was saying to me, he said, like, look, I've never tampered. And I was like, oh, like I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. He goes, technically, I've never tampered. I go, well, how did you do it then? And he said, well, I would, be talking to an agent, and I'd say things like, yeah, you know what I'm looking for? Looking for like a 6'3" left shot defenseman, maybe 215 pounds, maybe 29 years old, played as junior in Moose Jaw. Like if I could find someone like that, I'd probably go like 4x3, probably something like that. I just have a hard time finding that guy. You know, let me know if any of these guys sort of pops up here. But I'm just sort of scouring, looking for, and try to make it as vague but as deliberate as possible. So I'll throw it to you guys. Is that tampering?
The devil's in the details. Yeah. And
technically, you didn't say the player's name.
True.
Right?
True.
You didn't make any offers. You just said vaguely, oh, this is the size, this is the weight, maybe this is where he played junior, this is how much I might be looking to pay.
Well,
is it tampering if you don't mention the player's name?
No,
I don't think
not.
because
And these guys these agents are all they have lawyer backgrounds. That's all about loopholes and the details and the fine print. And if the league wants to put that out there and there's the fine print and you want to walk around it and not touch their rules, you're good to go.
The NHL sent out a memo like early this season, and they've reminded teams like their eyes open wide about it. They know it happens, of course. But the league, and Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly has, gone and reminded everybody about, the penalties if they're found tampering, fines and loss of draft picks, etc. Which is why we're most likely at the end of the era of 1201. There's three guys on a stage with a team backdrop, and they all have jerseys on. And here's these three multi-year, very intricate contracts that are being. I think those days are well in the rearview mirror. So even if you do have an agreement or have a contract, I'm guessing nothing's getting filed at 12:01 on July 1st anymore.
Well, it's funny. I mentioned I was at the Ken Holland presser in LA yesterday, and everybody was asking about Vladislav Gavrikov. I'm like, how's this working? Because he's signing with the New York Rangers. And then the other question was, would you be open to signing a $12 million, $13 million player? I mean, we all know who he's asking about. So, yeah, I think from that standpoint, very, very fascinating to see what happens on Tuesday. Are you a believer in what's swirling around Brad Marchand? Like if he gets to market, the Maple Leafs have a good shot here.
I think they'll take a swing. I think that their interest goes back a ways here. Like once Brad Marchand became available in and around trade deadline, I don't know 100% that the Maple Leafs were there to make an offer. Like the two teams that I think were the most aggressive were the Florida Panthers and the Dallas Stars. Dallas, it really didn't matter because he was choosing Florida, just, not unlike, Claude Giroux so many years ago with the Philadelphia Flyers, choosing Florida. So I could see Dallas trying to get back into that mix if indeed he hits free agency. Look, Toronto's going to be in there. I don't think that'll be a surprise to anybody. How do they make it happen? Is it going to take the extra year to make that happen? Perhaps. But as the days go on here, like the way the winds are blowing right now, I think that Sam Bennett resigns with the Florida Panthers, not because he blurted that out when he was half buckled on stage, but like I think that's just the way that it's going. It's probably always going. He's happy there. They like him. He's enjoyed his best years, and as Bob McCowan, would always say when I worked at the Fan with him, if you're, don't fuck with happy. If you're happy, find a way to stay. Just stay where you are. Find a way to make it work. And this is hand in glove for Sam Bennett with the Florida Panthers. Brad Marchand probably inching that direction too. And and this is, Rosie, you can weigh in on this one and talk about it with way more authority than me. Part of the attraction of playing in a market like Florida, we make a lot about no tax state, and rightfully so. It is a factor. I'll be honest. But the other thing is that players that I've spoken to will say, like, when you're playing in the winter and somewhere where it's warm, your body just feels so much better. You get off the plane, you're not shivering. You wake up in the morning, you're not like shivering when you go and you start your car to go to practice. Like, everything's done in like shorts and flops. And when you're older and you got some bumps and bruises, like, it's a much healthier place for your body to be in than anywhere where you're dealing with, snowplows and, flash storms, for example. Like, I really do think that's a factor. He's gone from Boston to Florida, and I'm guessing, like, his body feels great. Or I shouldn't say great. As good as someone who's had double hip surgery is going to feel. That's got to be a factor for someone like Brad Marchand. Aaron Ekblad, on the other hand, he may be the odd man out here. And if, of course, you guys just saw the Buffalo-Utah deal and Michael Kesselring, right-hand shot going to the Buffalo Sabres along with Josh Doan for J.J. Peterka, that opens up a right-hand defense slot for someone, perhaps Aaron Ekblad, as I've wondered about a number of different times. I could see, Utah reaching out on July 1st, of course, gentlemen, and pairing them up with Mikhail Sergachev, and that becomes Utah's number one pair. You can see that a mile away.
It's interesting. I kind of hope that Ekblad's not the odd man out so that Toronto gets a crack at Marchand. But as far as where you play, I mean, it's just when you go down there to play and you're like, I'm going to pack my flip-flops, and you come to practice in a T-shirt and shorts. It's everything. Like, I had a bad back this past year. Wasn't sure if I could go on this golf trip. We went to Phoenix, and I got down there. I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm thrilled. My back hasn't felt this good in weeks. And literally it's getting into the Calgary airport, going to my car, it started to seize up again. And it's tough because in those cold markets and the dog days at January and February, it takes a lot to get moving. And it's not just that, like, you're on the beach, the sun's hitting your face, like what that does to your mood and your mental health. Like, you could be trapped in Vancouver. Like, what's a problem there? It's being in that soggy, dreary drizzle for 3 weeks straight. Like, you can get depressed. Your mind starts to run away with you. The stress starts to add up. And I mean, with a pro hockey player and everything that's on their mind and on their plate, that plays a factor. And guys who went down to Florida, you just feel good. I mean, there's a reason people vacation there. It's to get away from what they have to do every single day and get a reset going. So there's so many factors that would keep a guy there. The one thing that Toronto does have, though, is if you come here and win, I mean, I'm sorry, the Panthers, they had their parade, and it's great, and they're like this dynasty right now in a sense. Some people get mad at that, but fuck, they are in the cap era. And it's kind of come and gone, and you saw the TV ratings that they had in Toronto, man. You come here and you win. Like, when people come here, they're like, holy crap, am I ever excited to see what can happen here? Because it'll change your life if you win a cup there. I know no one's done it in a long time, but it's fuck, you win there, man. You are, I mean, there's a reason Marner used the word gods. It's crazy up there.
You're 100% right. And the best example I always, whenever we sort of talk about, like, what happens to your career if you would win in Toronto, I always say, like, go back and look at the 1967 team. And I don't want to name any names, but they're obvious. Go back to the 1967 team and count how many players who shouldn't be in the Hockey Hall of Fame are in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Because they won in Toronto. Because they did it in Toronto. On the biggest stage, in front of the most people, period. You're 100% right. You know, like the conversation quickly turns to let's start going to measure the bridges to see where the floats are going to fit underneath, and start polishing up some new plaques at Yonge and Front Street for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Because you're right, you do it in Toronto, you set yourself up for life. But the flip side is, if you don't, it can be awful, and that's the risk you take. Now, Brad Marchand's already got 2 Stanley Cups in his hip pocket. What does he want to do? Do you want to go for a third, get a third Stanley Cup in his career with the Florida Panthers in a place where his body feels great, or chase like the ultimate immortality?
Immortal
win it
status.
with the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's complete immortal status. Again, go look at those 67 guys. You guys know hockey. Go look at the 67 team. See how many guys are in the Hall of Fame, and you go, huh? It's more than a few.
Big deal.
Yep.
I'm sure that's weighing on the mind too of John Tavares to a degree as well with his future. Where do you see that going in the next couple of days here, John Tavares?
To my previous point about Bob McCown and effing with Happy, he loves it there. His family's there. Roots are deep. Whether it's Toronto, whether it's family in Oakville, all of it. Like he's a dyed-in-the-wool Toronto person. It's where he wants to raise a family. I understand the idea of, chasing it somewhere else, but the Maple Leafs want him there. He wants to be there. I'm considering the Maple Leafs situation right now with what they have available up front. I have a hard time believing that John Tavares is not going to be a Maple Leaf come July 1st. There's a path there for both, right?
I think Pierre LeBrun mentioned
it's just deadline.
Pierre LeBrun mentioned that, there's all these numbers thrown around. I feel like they lowballed him pretty good to start with, but he says he'd think he'd do 4 years at $5 million. Like, it seems reasonable for everybody. In a couple of years, if he slots down to that 3C and the cap goes up to 113 or 14, all of a sudden that's a reasonable number for a 3C.
I agree.
Like, I just want this thing to get done, man. I'm worried about that. And on the other side, you talk about guys approaching July 1, like Matthew Knies. He's, they want to change the DNA and they want to get these guys in. And talking about Brad Marchand, well, Matthew Knies is like tailor-made what they want. A guy that's a workhorse with skill, loves being in the market, just constantly getting better, potential through the roof. Can they get this guy done? Like, we're starting to look at, he doesn't want to get offer sheeted, but is it going to get done before July 1?
Okay, so here's the thing. This is interesting. This is the byproduct, I think, of the previous regime, and this is Kyle Dubas, not beating anybody up coming off of the ELC. And maybe that's why in Toronto, like Kyle Dubas had a very specific way of operating. He wanted his players to feel comfortable. I understand that. Like, that's why you talk to anybody who's ever worked with Kyle Dubas, for Kyle Dubas, they'll say the same thing. Love working with him. Like, you talk to any of his staff, love working with Kyle Dubas. The one thing, like, sometimes like your positives can end up being a negative in some situations. Long term, did Dubas need to have that fight with someone? Like, did he need to beat someone up coming off the entry level deal? His thought was, we can pay them what they want, keep them happy. The salary cap was always going up, and the salary cap would accommodate it, and we wouldn't get hurt. And then COVID happened, and then everything changed. Like, the Maple Leafs were probably the team that was hurt the most by the pandemic, because A, how do you plan for a pandemic? And B, everything that they did was predicated on the cap continuing to rise and their salary cap not looking like the Gordian knot that it turned into because of it. But I think what you're seeing now, Rosie, is this is Brad Treliving, who's not going to be shy about saying he's a restricted free agent. We have a hammer here. We have a hammer, and we're going to use our hammer. Maybe not like Jarmo Kekalainen would with the Columbus Blue Jackets, but this is still advantage team. And maybe just being in Toronto, Maple Leafs fans aren't used to that, but that's what's happening.
I know you got to run the Sheet Draft Special. Looking forward to this tomorrow night. What should we expect?
It's going to be me and Pierre and a number of, there's going to be all throughout the program, we've got a number of guests lined up. So essentially what we want to do is, as each player gets selected, we want to bring in someone from their past, someone who's been around them for the lion's share of their career, and bring them on to talk about their memories and their thoughts of all these players as we wind through the first round. So that's what it's going to be tomorrow night, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern on our Daily Face-Off YouTube channel.
Great promo, my man. Thank you so much, and look forward to that tomorrow night. Take care, okay?
Rosie, you can do this, bud. You can do this. Hang in there.
We're going to get there, man. It's easier this time, man. I'm enjoying it this time. Thanks for the support, buddy.
Of course, man. I'm really proud of you. You're doing something good for future Jay. It's good.
Appreciate it, buddy.
See you, bud. That is Jeff Marek from The Sheet. Again, the draft, the Sheet draft special tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I don't know how you're doing it. I'd probably go about 6 hours, and I got to eat something. So,
well, I intermittent all the time, so I don't do breakfast very often. So it's like right now I'm used to it. I don't feel anything different. But there's a couple humps where you're like, oh God, but you just got to keep yourself busy, and then you go into this weird little state. It's cool, but I mean, if people wondering why you're doing it, I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm pretty lean as it is, but like humans aren't used to eating 3 square meals a day for the last 200,000 years. When your body's always digesting, it takes away from other things. And if you do these fasts, all your old cells, they shed them and get rid of them and make new ones. And I think the cancer and shit like that gets into those old cells. So if you can get the new, strong, healthy ones, that's, I guess this is how you do it. So I'm giving her a whirl.
Tell you what, sometime I think we got to do a fast together and see like how our bodies react, and we'll do like a 2-day journey together, whatever you want to do. Maybe we start with a 24-hour one, because I think it'll be a lot for my body to handle, considering how much I love food as an Italian. But I think it's a good idea to do together as partners.
It'd be fun. It's easier to do it with somebody. I'm on my own now, but I've done it once with my buddy, and we both like to muck, and we said, fuck it. He said, come over here, and we cooked up a huge muck and broke it early, but I think I'm going to make her tonight.
Yeah, no, I've got faith in you, man. You've done a lot in your career and your life, and I don't doubt it for a second. I just, even thinking about it, I'm like, how does one even do that? But yeah, the fact that you brought up there's a stage where you almost hit euphoria, and you're like, where the hell am I? I remember times where I've been really, really hungry, and I could only imagine going above and beyond that. But I guess once you're past that point, like it's probably the same feeling, no?
Yeah, like once you get over that and you're just like, well, whatever, your body's just like, all right, I'm not going to be eating, and it starts to do other things. And there's lots of glycogen and stuff. And
you're allowed water though, yeah?
Yeah, I got water going. Yeah. I've had a black coffee too, which some say yeah, some say nay, but your body's pretty strong. You're not hurting anything by doing this. Although if you've never thought about it, people think it's absolutely insane, but you don't need to be full of food digesting all day long every day.
So when are you done officially?
8:00 tonight. We're gonna have a little muck. I might push it to 6, but it's 6, something like that. But I got a few hours left, but I'm in the clear zone now. I feel like I'm cruising.
Buddy, what kind of feed do you have ready for tonight? Like, tell me about this meal.
That's what I was thinking. I'm gonna crank the grocery store. Like Jeff says, like even if you were just dying for like a fat grease wheel or something, you should probably avoid that. But I don't know. I'm a big like chicken and rice salad guy. I make my own dressings and like I just salivate over that stuff. But we'll see. I'm gonna go on my Instagram, and I got a lot of saved things in there. I'm gonna get something tasty and enjoy it tonight. But I'm sure people are tired of hearing about my
I love it. No, I'm fascinated by this. So yeah, you'll find out more coming up tomorrow. We'll find out what Rosie cooked, how he's feeling. We do have some super chats to get to in support of Sick Kids. We'll start with our guy Patty Mafia. Thank you so much. What would Ekblad's contract look like? First and foremost, I thought it was intriguing. Marek brought up the very astute and good point about Utah. So Kesselring goes in that deal with the Buffalo Sabres. I have no fucking clue what the Sabres are doing. I feel like we say that every summer. I think it's a fair swap, but like from what I understand, I'm lucky enough to be here with Dave Pagnotta. He tells me Peterka didn't want to be a Sabre. He essentially wanted out, so I get that. We'll see. The jury's still out on Josh Doan, very young in his career. Unfortunate that he's got to leave that organization, considering the roots from Arizona. His father, Shane, an AGM here with the Maple Leafs. But I think maybe, I think Utah makes a lot of sense for Aaron Ekblad. As for contract, I hate speculating on these things, but he's probably looking for close to max term, and that would be 7 years because he's leaving. If he does leave the Florida Panthers, 7 years, I would, if I had to put money on it, around $8 million, 7.5 per season, if not more. I think, it takes one team to step up and pay this guy, right?
I think someone's going to step up and give him 9.
Really?
Like, who would you rather have? You just one and one, Bouchard or Ekblad?
Man, the way I watch Evan Bouchard play in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think his high-end offensive pedigree, I'd probably go with Bouchard. And you see the reports out there. It sounds like Bouchard could sign maybe like a 4-year deal and look around an AAV of 10. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, I saw 10-6. People were talking 12 before, but like I watched him play in the finals too. And like, he's got an offensive upside and a big shot, but like that just doesn't go far when you are just serving up pizzas and brain dead plays and lackadaisical lazy shit. Like, and I'm not knocking him as a player, but I'm knocking him as an $11 million player. And then I look at Ekblad and like when you have a D-man back there that's doing his kind of thing, he's kind of well-rounded, not as a dynamic offensively, but that mean streak in a D-man, like, oh, so many Norris winners and guys are more well-rounded, and you just can't be serving up those pizzas and brain dead plays. And he seemed to get almost worse as it got further down the final. I don't know, man. I'm an Ekblad guy, and I personally hope that he re-signs in Florida so I don't think they can keep all three, and it'll free up one of the other ones. I'm sure it's not going to be Sam Bennett, but Marchand, I'm not interested in Ekblad on our team. Again, like we talked about yesterday, I think our D are pretty solid and we're thin up front. And Marchand, man, I got a lot of eggs in the Marchand basket, and I may very well be primed up to break my heart. And I can't imagine why someone wouldn't want him on the team, unless you're just doing it with your heart and you hate him and you don't like the Bruins. And it's like, I could give a shit about that. I'm looking for players on our team to help us get over the hump here. And Marchand's exactly that, if you ask me.
I woke up very split today, and it was along the lines of something Marek said. So you see Michael Kesselring, you see Josh Doan go to Buffalo for JJ Peterka, and I look at the Maple Leafs, and there's been a lot of speculation. Teams are calling on Brandon Carlo. I think 24 hours ago, I'm like, I don't know if I can deal Brandon Carlo, but you think about that cap hit. He shoots right, really good shutdown defenseman. If I get a deal that's too good to pass up, I'd probably do it, as opposed to 24 hours ago. Like, you look at that value that Utah, and I think Peterka is a hell of a player, a 60-point player. Maybe he's a 70-point guy, gets an extension with the trade too. Like, I thought this was a really good executed deal by Utah. But you see that type of value in like a right-handed shooting guy, the way Kesselring goes to Buffalo, and everybody analyzes talent differently. I think from the Maple Leafs perspective, you have to be pretty much open to anything right now. Would you agree with that, or you keep in Carlo?
Yeah. And I think Peterka is only 23 years old. Like, I think Utah policed him in that deal. Like, Buffalo just has trouble getting out of their own way. But with our back end, all you got to do is look at what were we like before we got Carlo post deadline, and what were we like after. Did the back end get better? Absolutely. He's a good player. I was happy to get him for the run when you don't know what's going to happen, and you're trying to do something now at the deadline. It's an exciting time, and you're prepping for the playoffs. But you just look back at what were we before we got him. I still liked our D a lot. Yeah, you had one guy that kind of, you could roll the dice, come in and out, and try to play the flavor of the week kind of thing. I get that. But there's so many other, stable forces on the back end. And you got guys like Benoit. You need that sixth guy to play above his pay grade and be a force and be a guy you can rely on. And he's that in spades. I've liked him since before anyone was talking about him. Just, I think, more because he has kind of that snot and snarl, which obviously we're looking for on this roster. But if you don't have a lot of things to move, and it's irrelevant to me what we gave up to get Carlo. That doesn't mean you have to keep him. You can continue down the road of moving around and trying to make yourself better. And if you have a deal that makes your, like, say, a 2C or something that makes that front end look so much better than it does right now, that's what you need a lot more than you need Carlo on the back end, if you ask me. So I understand why people are talking about him. I am all ears to offers if I was Treliving. And I personally hope that there's an announcement and our phone buzzes and it says, boom, deal breaking with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it's something we can get excited about, because we've seen series after series where our forwards are coming up short. It's not in our D zone. It's not our back end. It's up front. And I'm looking for something. It's not probably going to happen with free agency unless it is maybe like a Marchand or something. But even so, you make this deal and you look at the Minton and the first rounder we gave for Carlo. If you can get something that helps us now this year for the fans to be excited about this season, I'm all ears.
The big factor too is the cap hit, right? Boston ate some money on that trade, so I believe it's 3.8 for the next 2 seasons for Brandon Carlo. And with the cap going up, that's some electric stuff. So I think for the Maple Leafs perspective, very attractive. And I think if there's a team, there's going to be a lot of teams. I mean, we've talked about this for a decade with the Maple Leafs, and now it's almost like an embarrassment of riches. But how long were they after right-handed shooting guys on the back end who can play top 4 minutes, and suddenly you've got a couple of them at the very least, which is great to say. But yeah, it was something I was thinking about the last 24 hours. And there's going to be a lot out there over the next couple of days here at the draft in Los Angeles, also leading up to July 1. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button here. Again, I'm in Los Angeles getting set for the NHL draft, and the Leafs don't have a pick coming up tomorrow. But I think you would agree, most of our focus is away from the draft. It's John Tavares, it's Matthew Knies, it's Brad Marchand. Do you have anything to add? You referenced it a bit earlier on when it came, and I know you guys talked about this yesterday, but it sounds like maybe there's a bit of progress, or there has been a bit of a slow-moving progress on Tavares and Knies. I'm under the belief, as Marek put it, I think both are going to be back in the mix for sure, and I just don't see a pathway where John Tavares specifically leaves Toronto. Do you?
I don't either, man. You just, that's the last thing he wants to do, is figure out where the hell his kids are going to go to school and rent or buy a house in some new market. What are you doing with your place in Toronto? It's just the last thing a guy wants. As I played further and further, I played pro 13 years. And the thing that was just the worst year after year, it's just packing your shit and having to go down to a place. And I always rented a place because I'm not some guy with some 8-year deal who's going to put his roots down. And you got to figure out where the hell that is and live out of a suitcase for the longest time and make the team and then figure out what the communities are. And as you're dragging kids and a wife with you, there's so much going on. It's just, he's playing where he grew up. He's playing where he lives in the summertime. It's just so much easier for him to be there. And it's not like it's some scrub team. The Toronto Maple Leafs are still very much a contender. They have good things going on. He's made a ton of money. He's going to continue to make a ton of money. I think they get a deal done, absolutely. And I get what Marek said. They're playing a little bit of hardball. I thought their first offer that came out is not insulting, but it's certainly like a what is this type of moment. Like everyone and their dog knew he's not going to sign that thing. It's for good reason. But I think that like Marek mentioned, that's kind of the optics of it. Like, hey, we aren't just throwing money around like the old establishment. We're playing hardball here, and I could give a shit what they do as long as they come to terms. And I really do like that 4 times 5. I think that's good for both sides. It's not it's a bit of a discount, but it's not insulting. It works with our cap and what we have to work with it going up. I like John. Everything about him works for the market. I want to get him done. I'm just shocked at people who say, get rid of Tavares. Like, we got to change the culture. Like, everyone's got to go. And then there's no talk about, well, he's got 38 goals last year. There's no talk about, well, who are you going to bring in to replace him? It's just like, I'm on a big mission to change the DNA and Mitch isn't enough. So everyone's got to go. It's thoughtless, if you ask me. And it would put them in a bad position in a hurry.
Yeah, the leverage is a fascinating standpoint because I think both sides to an extent have that leverage. If you're Tavares, that's what you push back with. Okay, I leave, who you replace me with. If you're the Maple Leafs, we know you want to be here, John. Yeah. Take this haircut, take this discount. And I think ultimately they'll come to terms on a new contract. And if it's around 5, I'm good with that. It was more like 7 mil plus, maybe 6.5 mil plus, where I'm like, maybe you go elsewhere. But I think 5 is really, really fair for what you expect and what you think from John Tavares. I think the other thing I would add too is the whole thing about, like, this has been out there the last couple of days, but maybe a guy like John Tavares, thinks, like, do you view him as a center or a left winger for that matter?
I view him as a center. Things happen where you can shift guys around, but I just think he's a smart player, very smart. I like him in the center of the ice. I like him being responsible down low, helping the D-man out in your D zone. I like him being able to see the ice and decipher where the play is going to go. And that's high hockey IQ, veteran experience. And that's what a centerman needs to be. And I also am thinking a little bit long-term where, I want a 2C as well. Maybe it's not this year, but maybe it's next year. But as you start to think down the road, Tavares at 5 with $114 million cap, and he's still got all the things I just mentioned, and you lower him down to the 3C and surround him with the right kind of guys that complement him, all of a sudden that depth is like really appealing because I'm sorry, but there's not a lot of guys in the league that come up in free agency that you can get. That's a small percentage of chance that you're going to replace him with somebody better, if you ask me. And like you'd mentioned before, all the things line up for him to be a perfect fit in Toronto.
In support of Sick Kids, Rush, thank you so much for the super chat. Matthews and McDavid cannot coexist. Too many passengers, in quotations. Poppy is pushing Lindros territory with chronic injuries. McDavid wants to come home, make it happen. A real captain, get Knies for a number 2C. Did you see the pictures of Connor McDavid at I think Yorkville or Sherway, one of these malls the other day?
Shopping for houses, right?
Yeah, at the mall, yes.
Shit. You know, you know what I was thinking the other day? I think I was driving and I was like,
yeah.
You know how Matthews is? He's kind of a quiet dude. He's not real, loud, and he's not that. I'm not trying not to knock him. It's not a knock, but I just feel like if you brought someone in who was kind of this dynamic player, like Matthews kind of taken a step back. I know he just got the captaincy and everything, and whatever you think about that, but to kind of be quietly just ripping goals and being that guy that maybe you don't notice throughout the first 2 periods, and then bang, bang, he gets 2 in the third. And I just feel like he'd be, and it's crazy because he's like a superstar and got 70 goals and he got fat contract and all that stuff. But if you could somehow find it where he wasn't the guy that's at the tip of the spear all the time, I feel like he could flourish in that role. I get there's some consistency issues, and I think it's mostly predicated on injury issues. And I hope he's dealing with that to the best of the resources available to him, which is everything in the world over this offseason. But I mean, I'm not talking McDavid, but in a wild, crazy world when you're doing fun stuff and fantasizing about what could be in some other world, it would be pretty cool for Austin to be able to like not be that tip of the spear and be able just to, I don't know. I guess in a roundabout way, am I saying he's not a captain material? Maybe. But he's such a good player, and I just want him to be utilized to his full potential. And I didn't love what I saw when the whole world is on his shoulders, expecting him to take over the games.
So I believe Brad Treliving and Mark Leach, the director of amateur scouting, are doing their what I did with Holland yesterday. They're doing that prior to the draft here, and Treliving on Marner, anticipating he'll hit the market. Fair enough. And Treliving says things moving with Tavares. So those are
good
2 developments. Yeah.
Wow. Heavy developments. Wow. Yeah. It's good to hear though. There was a while there where, and I'm a little bit still nervous about Knies, but Tavares, I'm kind of less so. I think they're going to get it done. All signs point to them coming together. And it's like, I think both sides are like, well, we're both going to keep playing some hardball for a couple of days and see if we can squeeze it this way or that, see who cracks before. Yeah. But I think they both have a number in mind that they will shake hands on. And I think it's the same number. So, that's how deals get done. I'm fairly confident with that. It's the Knies thing that's bugging me. He doesn't want to sign an offer sheet. He said that. Does that mean he's not gonna? Not necessarily. If he gets to July 1, the number just goes up, right? If someone does take a swing on him and offers it, I'm not totally worried about him signing one. But it's just, if you're going to give a guy an offer sheet, you're kind of a desperate team who's taken a swing to totally, rattle everyone's chains. And then you're going to get this guy done anyways. And it's just, the number ain't going down if you get to July 1 and he gets offer sheeted. I want him to get done. I know is like a 4-year or 5-year deal still a bridge deal? Well, it's not 8, right? And he's going to probably trust in himself to be a superstar and be worth the 11s and the 12s and the who knows what guys are going to be making after a 4 or 5 year contract. But if you can get him locked in for 4 and 5 years, something like that, 8 point, like it's only a matter of couple of quick years and he's worth more than that. So I'm sure Treliving's trying to get it extended as long as possible. What that cap hit is, it's going to be a hell of a lot different than what it was on his entry level contract, but the guy's just worth it, plain and simple.
Look, we've had a beat on this whole Knies thing since dating back to maybe October, November. My best guess, again, we've been consistent in saying this, 3 to 5 years, $7 to $8 million. Like if I had to put money on that type of contract coming to fruition, that's where my head's at with Knies. 3 to 5 years, $7 to $8 million per season. That's not me knowing anything, it's just me, my pure speculation and what I think could happen, what makes sense for both sides. Because I can't envision, like, I know obviously a guy like Matthew Knies, you want to lock him in for 8 years. I just don't think it's trending that direction at all. If you want 8 years, then you're going to have to pay up, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I don't either. He's got too much potential. He's too young. It's hard to think. Like when we interviewed him first time, he was sitting in his Minnesota Golden Gophers room and just a college kid, and came on the scene and everyone's like, wow, he's not going to make an impact immediately. I'm like, I think he might. And he has popped off. Everyone's salivating over him. The heaviness that he plays with, been in a few scraps. He's a lefty. He can crush guys. When was it where someone came into his face and he just put him on his ass, made him look up at the rafters and say, he's just this big boy with confidence. And then he's got the skill to play with the big dogs. Like, I really like this kid, but it was not long ago he was sitting in his dorm room and now he's looking at 5 years, $8 million. I mean, that sets you up for life and then some, and you still, that's going to go by pretty quick. The careers at that age, you hit 30 a lot quicker than you think, and he's not 20 years old, and all of a sudden you're in your prime, you've done XYZ, and then you can really cash in on a monster where the league's probably going to be doing really well. The cap's going to be really high. I think it works for both sides to get a 5-year deal done. And it's not like it's $5.5 million and you're like, dude, I'm going to be worth like 9 and 10 here before long. And he's really scoffing at their number, saying this is insulting. $8 million. Like I think that's the wheelhouse. I really hope they get it done before July 1.
In support of Sick Kids, Tammy, thank you so much for the super chat. The Leafs drafted Nylander as a C. Had they continued letting him play in that position, they wouldn't have to go out of their way to find another one. You're right. I mean, that whole thing last year was so bizarre. Training camp hits, and they're like, yeah, we're going to try this again. And it lasted like 17 seconds. I would love a behind-the-scenes like reality series on Nylander at center. What's said? What has he said? What did Berube say? What did Keefe back in the day say? Like, I think we'd find out a lot about this whole scenario because it doesn't seem like they want to put any passion into it.
It reminds me of I think it was the year before. It's Marner on D, and we're just like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts. Obviously, it's less ridiculous, but what is it about Nylander that you don't like at C? Just defensive responsibilities, basically? Yeah,
I don't know. I can't answer for them. I just know there's less pop in his game at center. I think some guys, and you know this more than most people, can play every position, can play that position. And some guys can't. Like, I think Nylander's just better served in the wing, and I think they've realized that over time, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of him playing, like, coming across the blue line, and, that D-man gives him any time and space. He loves looking at the ice, hitting that late guy, busting wide, maybe taking it to the net, maybe hitting the late guy through the slot afterwards, up and around the walls with his cutbacks. He's tailor-made to work along the walls. He's just proven to be a better fit for winger. So whether they drafted him as XY, it doesn't really matter. It's what do you got right now? And yeah, I agree that it's it just looks better on wing, and we've seen him try it at center. And I don't know if people know so much, but like, the other team has 3 forwards, so they're in your zone and around the net. You need that centerman to go down and help out your 2D. So there's that responsibility in the D zone that it sometimes goes so unnoticed about how effective a good centerman that's responsible can be. But guess what? You're the last guy. You're usually the third man high. You're coming up late. You're not getting the breakout and busting. Yeah, you got to come down for support, but you're often coming down, helping the D-man in and around the net, below the goal line sometimes. And guess what? It takes a lot of effort to get your ass back up. It takes a lot of energy to get your ass back up. And Willie's known to kind of want to just kind of cruise and check things out and see how things develop and then pounce. And again, not really suited that well for center.
Yeah, I would say the breakaways per 60 would dip dramatically and significantly if Nylander was playing center. But again, I think we've tried this. I think the Leafs have come to realization it's just not going to happen. Nylander at center. Just to wrap, before we wrap, I should say, love to get your thoughts on what's been coming out. We talked about it, referenced it a bit with the CBA. It sounds like it could officially be announced tomorrow. I'd heard whispers that maybe it was going to be announced yesterday. But some of the verbiage we've been seeing coming out of this whole thing, an 84-game regular season, 4-game preseason. You're going to love this. No player dress codes. So if you're in the NHL, you can show up with your Meta World Peace New York Knicks jersey if you wanted to. Lowering maximum contract lengths by 1 year. The LTIR loophole, you love this, closing no deferred salary, full-time e-bug. So producer Vic would be ecstatic about that because we all know producer Vic was the e-bug in Montreal in the playoffs. So, I mean, a lot of moving parts to this, Rosie.
The full-time e-bug, like, okay, great. There's no more beer league guys sitting.
What's your job? I'm a full-time NHL e-bug.
Like, who is this guy? Like, who is he? Where do you practice? How do you stay sharp? I mean, a college kid is kind of your best bet. I don't know who this guy's going to be. Like, maybe a guy who is going to retire, who decides instead of playing another year, I'll be an e-bug. It's how do you get reps? And it's just, it's kind of interesting to me. But with the other stuff, like the 2012 lockout, I just love how this CBA is potentially it's done. It sounds like they're not far apart. It's funny when the league makes money, how easy these things are, but it was nightmare fuel when the 2012 CBA couldn't get done and they locked the players out. And that was literally in the prime of my career. I was on one-way contract before the lockout and on one-way contracts after the lockout. That was the prime of my career. And I missed damn near a whole year. And it was crazy. It was the owners just wanting to bend you over a barrel and say, if you don't take it, you're not playing. And we'll see how many paychecks you like to miss before you come down and bend the knee. It was brutal. I was a representative for my team at some point. They wanted everyone and their dog, and the meetings were at Pebble Beach. So it wasn't really hard to entice me, but you sit through the meetings and it's like, this team claimed a loss. So they want part of the hockey related revenue because they put their hand up and say, oh, look, we got a loss. And we say, okay, well, let's see your books and we'll go through your loss. Oh, no, you can't see our books. So then it's 2.5 months going to court to get your books. Obviously, you're going to win. You get your books. And they made money, but the owner took a $2 million bonus, which he's allowed to do, just to claim a loss to get more of the hockey-related revenue, which comes right off the player's salary in the form of escrow. It's shit like that, and it was a nightmare, and there's so many lawyers, and it's just these billionaires that have got the power and the knowledge to just be so snaky. And then on top of that, some guy would come up and say, yeah, well, during the players' strike, and you're like, excuse me, the players' strike? They offered to keep playing on the current CBA while they negotiate. No, so the lockout was a tactic. Terrible. I'm glad that, sorry to go on a rant there, but it's great that they're close here. The big thing that stands out today seems to be the 84 game schedule instead of 82. I mean, they used to play 80 and now it's 82. I'm okay with it as long as it's understood that, hey, why would the league want to go to an 84 game schedule? Well, because you're going to make more money. Okay, well, if you're making more money, that means the players are keeping more money in their pockets. Escrow should go down. Hockey-related revenue should be X, and that means that you don't need to take more off of their checks. Like, as long as it's good for the players, I'm fine with it. People are saying more wear and tear on you and stuff. Well, you're playing in those exhibition games. If you take that back quite a bit and open up the regular season for the teams to make more money, I think I'm okay with it. But I'm always kind of on the players' side saying, make sure these billionaires don't dick the players over, because after all, they are the product. They're the reason any money even exists within this forum. So it's interesting getting into the nitty-gritty of that stuff.
My response is like, fuck, 2 extra games added to 82 to figure out if the Maple Leafs are a different team, right? That's I don't care about the regular season. I won't care about the regular season. All these people want to drum up controversy saying the Maple Leafs are missing the playoffs next year. They're not. We're going to wait till next spring and we're going to find out if they're a different team,
Yeah, it does. It drags it all a little bit. I would like to see them start it earlier, man. Like, there's no, like, what was it last? Like October 11th. I'm like, Jesus. Like, what's wrong with September 28th? Like, we don't need to be going deep into the spring. Like, once August is over and like you're halfway through September and the kids are in school and you got minor hockey going again, I want to watch some hockey. Like, let's get this show on the road here.
Yeah, 10-4 on that front. And the other thing that stood out for me is like the max term on the contracts going down a year, which for me, as somebody who loves movement, I think will add some movement, because case in point, free agency this summer outside of Mitch Marner. I mean, there's a couple other names, but I mean, it isn't the sexiest class out there, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I hear you. And when the Leafs have a bunch of cap space to finally work with. It sucks that it's not next year where you rattle off the top 10, 12, 15
True.
guys available and keep going down the list. You're like, oh my God, like there's lots of pickings. So it is what it is. Again, I'm sitting here anxiously waiting for Tree to start making some moves, if at all possible.
I completely glazed over the top because we had Marek off the top, but the preseason schedule came out yesterday. They play 3 teams, home and home pretty much with all 3 teams. And not much else to add. I think it was Montreal, Detroit, Ottawa. So,
yeah, those 6 games. I remember like if you're like a veteran stud, you can pick and choose. They'll probably come to you and say, hey, do you want to play 2 of these or which ones do you want to play? And the fun thing is seeing a kid who's trying to make the NHL, who's maybe close but not quite there, and you get to put on the jersey and play in the rink against another team that's kind of real. You don't get credit for an NHL game for it, but you dip your toe in the water in a big way, and that's really fun to see for those players. For a guy that was like me, who's trying to make a club and, there's a spot potentially available, you want to steal it. I mean, you got to go so goddamn hard in those 6 games. And in my era, it was bruisers everywhere. Everyone wanted to make sure no one was being an idiot. So everyone dressed so much meat. I think I don't know, Dangle said it one day years ago, what the stat was for me to make the Leafs. It was like, I fought like 5 times in 7 days or something. Like it's an absolute war. So to see the 6-game schedule again brings back some heavy memories of really grinding through some tough games trying to make the NHL. But honestly, if they take that down and add a couple of games, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk out there that we could even see 19-year-olds play in the American Hockey League, because right away as you're having that conversation, I'm thinking about like the Easton Cowans of the world, like guys like that. Preseason hockey is important to show your worth, to show your value, to show you can stick it at the NHL level. So I think a lot of moving parts to it for sure. J-Rock, thank you so much for the super chat in support of Sick Kids. Go ahead, Rosie.
Do you know why they won't let an 18, 19-year-old kid can play in the NHL, but not in the American League? Like, you force them to make that massive jump from junior to the NHL. Yeah. Like, what the hell's wrong with the American Hockey League for these guys as a stepping stone? There's so many people it would benefit, and it would help out those American League teams too.
Long time coming, man. I'm really looking forward to that, because I think, for example, like Easton Cowan, last year, I think the perfect spot for him going after last season was the American Hockey League. So he goes back to junior, dominates. I mean, there's ups and downs, wins the Memorial Cup MVP. He was great. But I think that's a perfect example of a guy who could have benefited from playing pro hockey at age 19 into 20.
Yeah, I think so. You go from being up with the big leagues and you're kind of a pup, and it's kind of overwhelming. Yeah. And then you go way back down to the, junior ranks, and you're this goddamn stud who just dominates and toys with teams. It's too big of a gap, man. And I think that if you give him some time in the American League, it's that I think at the end of the year, you're better suited with more experience and more ability to make the big club if you've been in the American League. I always thought it was ridiculous to think of these prospects and say, oh, well, he could use some time in the American League. Nope, he's not allowed. He's got to go get 130 points in the and fucking, it's just like, why? It's a silly rule. I'm glad they're addressing it in this CBA.
Getting back to the super chat from J-Rock, do you think they're targeting teams like Toronto by limiting signing bonus to 60%? Unequivocally, yes, my answer to that. Takes a tool away from rich teams to entice players. You nailed it, J-Rock. That's exactly what's happened here.
It's kind of tough because the rich teams are the ones that are in Canada usually, who are in a colder climate usually, who have people that are crazy about hockey and don't have a whole hell of a lot else to do but watch hockey, hence all the money they have. And that was one thing they had to entice when you have all the things we talked about that Florida has going for them with their tax-free state, and you're wearing the flip-flops, and it's the sun, and it's the beach, and there's a million things to do, and people don't fucking go through your garbage. It's tough, and it's totally going to hurt teams like Toronto. I wish they kind of left that one alone, to be honest, as a guy that's in the Toronto Maple Leafs stratosphere.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365, whatever your bet is. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. So we just referenced about 10 minutes ago, Brad Treliving alluding that Mitch Marner is going to hit the free agent market. With that in mind, Where does he go, Jay Rosehill? What are you feeling?
I feel like he's going to go to Vegas. I feel like they just made room for him the other day. I think it's a pretty good fit. I honestly think it's the best fit for Marner. You go to like an Anaheim or something. It's just, I really think it's gonna be more of the same. But I think he's supported a little bit better in Vegas, and the way. I just know the way he plays, and I'm thinking about what his mind is as far as what's the best fit for me to be successful and not take the kind of heat that I did in Toronto. And I just feel like Vegas is set. They've been on the radar the whole time, and they just made a pretty big move there, which made me think they're making up some cap space for Mitch Marner's massive contract.
What movie are you talking about?
What movie?
No, what move?
Vegas dealt. Couldn't think of his name. Vegas dealt yesterday. Not Hurdle.
Drawing a blank.
Oh, maybe
Hurdle?
I screwed this up. Yeah, he just made. Was it Hurdle?
No, it didn't happen. So there was a shitstorm in media. Somebody out there, I know who it is. I'm not going to reference them, but they said that Hurdle at Carolina was happening. But then I'm like starting to wonder. It would make sense. It never happened. It never was close to happening. So what we understand, though, it's all good. Vegas is going to do something to free up cap. I will tell you, it's sounding more and more, I should say, like Alex Petrangelo's done. He's played his last NHL game, but they're going to still have to do something above and beyond that. And I think the name to watch could be Ivan Barbashev. And we all know there's a coach in Toronto who knows Ivan Barbashev really well, won with him in St. Louis. And that's Craig Berube. So who knows? But I think the Leafs, ironically enough, Marner could be a guy that goes to Vegas. I think the Leafs would be definitely sniffing around on what Vegas does next, whether it's Hurdle. I know the Maple Leafs looked into William Karlsson last year. Any one of those guys, Barbashev, I think a lot of those guys could make sense in Toronto.
Yeah, for sure. And my apologies. It's one of those reasons that these dickheads try to be first to the punch to get all the accolades, which always blows my mind at how much people care who broke it first. But flat out, seriously done deal type of thing. And I think I was driving my car and I was like, that makes sense. Carolina, we need this guy. And then it opens up and I never saw the retraction. So my apologies on that. But that's one of the reasons why you don't break news before she's a done deal.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, because social media was ablaze a couple days back about Hurdle to Carolina, and all of a sudden people are like backtracking. They're like, wait, it's not happening. It's not even close. But yeah, I think we're all anticipating Vegas doing something. But you're right. I think it just seems like... I
still think he's a fit there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Vegas is going to be the team. I wouldn't sleep on the Dallas Stars as well. And funny, no state tag teams look like they could be in here on Mitch Marner. Rosie, great stuff today. Draft day tomorrow. So we'll see what the Maple Leafs put forth later on today. If they do anything into tomorrow, we're going to have all avenues covered again. Special start time for tomorrow's show to cater to me pretty much, because I'm out west here in LA, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific, for the draft day edition of Leafs Morning Take. How about that?
Looking forward to it, dude. We will see you then.
Hopefully I see you then. Again, if you're just tuning in, Rosie is fasting for 48 hours. So we're going to find out what kind of feed you have tonight and if you make it to tomorrow's show too. So good luck.
Piece of piss. I'm doing fine. I'm kind of enjoying it. It's fun.
Been impressed, man. You got a lot of energy for a guy who hasn't eaten in 36 hours. I'll say that.
You're not starving. You're living off all kinds of stuff that you got in you. It's good for you. I encourage anyone to give it a try. It sounds crazy, but it's really not.
Can't believe I'm doing a show with the Liver King on a daily basis. This guy just has solved the world and how we live it, and how we live it. So
it is kind of the year of Rosie. I had a bad year last year. My back went out and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Once I quit hockey and I was just, screw the gym. That was such a job and a chore, and I don't have to do it anymore. And things started to fail on me. So since January, I've been cranking it with the food and the health and the exercise, and I honestly feel like $1 million. So it's a good thing. It's not hard. Once you get in the routine too, it just seems to come naturally. It's just about getting your ass going is the only thing. So there's my words of encouragement for anyone listening who's thinking about taking care of themselves.
Yeah, come to think of it, you have been gym guy for the last 6 months. You're like you got your protein shakes, you got your pre-workout cooking, like it's
snorting pre-workout during the show. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You're dialed in. You're dialed in. So, again, that's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. We'll be back for draft day on Friday. Again, special start time, noon Eastern time, and we'll bring you the up-to-date, very latest here on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Thank you to Jeff Marek for dropping by at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. On the way out, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Again, thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Friday. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.